Hello, what is happening, guys? How are you doing? This is Rob of Rule of Two Review. Welcome back to the channel. And today, it has been a while, but I think it's finally time I discuss a little bit more the whole idea of a Nintendo Switch Pro. Now, I know that this is a semi-divisive topic for a lot of people, and I think that a lot of people also get really annoyed at the concept of a Nintendo Switch Pro or the idea of a YouTuber or people on Twitter talking about Nintendo Switch Pros, but at the end of the day, I think it's a worthy conversation to have. And also, yeah, like I've talked about it several times over the course of the past 2 or so years because the conversation has been relevant. There's been a lot of things that have started to point to the idea of a Nintendo Switch Pro. There were ideas about a Nintendo Switch Mini out there for a while before eventually the Switch Lite was confirmed. And so even after that, more conversations about the Switch Pro started. Plenty of behind the scenes and sometimes public leaks or rumors about things that show, oh, maybe there's a manufacturing plant somewhere that's making pieces, or Nintendo has a plan for this. Now there's rumors about a new Switch SKU at the beginning of 2021, and things that make it seem like Nintendo might actually be working on new hardware. And so, because of that, yeah, like, I'm a Nintendo fan, I'm a lifelong gamer, of course I'm invested in the concept of a Switch Pro, and as these stories or rumors had come and gone over the past 2 years, I've been invested in them, I've been interested in them, and I've been talking about them. And so that kind of brings us to the right here and now, where some people think that more than ever, the time is right for a Switch Pro. Now, what's really interesting and kind of tricky about the conversation I'm having right now is I'm recording this very early in the morning on Thursday, December 10th, 2020, which is also the same day that the Game Awards is supposed to be happening later this evening. And so I am recording this hours before that show, where some people want to believe that if Nintendo is going to have some sort of significant presence at the show, which they may or may not, that maybe this is going to be the time where they would show a Nintendo Switch Pro because of the early 2021 rumors, or because it makes sense and we just want them to have a huge megaton surprise at the Game Awards show. And so I can't really talk too much about predictions or thoughts about Nintendo doing that at the show, simply because within hours of this video going live, the show is going to happen, and we're going to have the answer on whether or not Nintendo shows anything at the show. So the shelf life for that conversation is so short, I can't say much about it. The only thing I will say here and now, for, you know, maybe the couple of hundred or thousand of you that watch this video before the Game Awards air, would be I don't really expect Nintendo to show new Switch hardware at the Game Awards. I'm not saying they 100% aren't working on something. Obviously, I'm going to talk about that. But would they be showing it at the Game Awards on December 10th today? I just personally really doubt it. I think that we all know right now, after 2 years of weird rumors or supposed leaks and conversations about a new Nintendo Switch Pro hardware, that the current most interesting thing about the idea is the fact that apparently Nintendo is supposed to be working on a new Switch SKU to be revealed or even released in early 2021, which right now, 2021 is right around the damn corner. I mean, can you believe it? It's like 3 weeks away and we're going to be in the year 2021. And so yes, it becomes kind of exciting to think about a new Switch hardware of some kind being announced. Obviously, we're not talking about a next-gen Switch. That is very different than the idea of a Switch Pro, which would just be like a slight iterative upgrade in the overall performance and capability of the machine. Yeah, if Nintendo has a plan to do that early next year, that could definitely be really exciting and cool if it's something significant. However, I shared my thoughts a couple of months ago when this initial part of the story had gotten out there, that while I'm open to the idea of this early 2021 thing being some sort of new upgraded Pro SKU, I also wonder if it's more of a replacement SKU for the current Switch model. And the comparison I drew before, and I'll draw it again here for you guys right now, is when Nintendo upgraded the battery life sometime, I want to say 8-9 months ago, or maybe a year ago. Within the past year, they'd released an updated SKU. It came in the red box instead of the other box. And it was that they had found a better and longer lasting battery to include in the Switch. And so that was the new replacement SKU. It wasn't being marketed as a new piece of hardware or a new design. It wasn't being sold for a different price. It didn't discount the price of the old one. They just allowed themselves to sell through the stock of the initial Switches that were out there that had the older, shorter battery. and slowly but surely we're restocking stores with this one with the newer, better battery. And so it wasn't really a big hubbub. It wasn't a big to-do. There was no marketing, like I said, behind it. It was just, hey, this is the slightly itty-bitty better version of the Switch that's now replacing the current SKU, and now this is our Switch. And so I wonder if there's any truth to this concept of this early 2021 new Switch SKU, if maybe there's something happening there that's similar to that. The rumor about the early 2021 Switch really focused around a slightly improved screen on the Switch, and something that they said was like better compatibility with the Joy-Cons or the gameplay or something kind of vague and mysterious that didn't really make a whole lot of sense. But that's the thing, is those kinds of descriptors to me sound like small changes to replace the current SKU, similar to the battery thing. But if we move away from that idea and try to focus on it as more of a possible Switch Pro, something that actually improves the performance fairly significantly to the point where games will look and play better, and maybe even we would get some games that can only run on this new version of the Switch, then it becomes more exciting, and I'm obviously willing to explore that idea here, right? We're at the point where, right now, because Doom Eternal finally just launched on the Switch this past week, some people are seeing it as both an example of how amazing and impressive the Switch hardware is, the fact that this game can run so well on the console, as well as a showcase of why we maybe need an upgrade to the Switch, because it's also showing that the Switch can't really handle stuff the way other devices can. And honestly, I understand the idea of that. I can see through the situation and understand that if some games can't run so incredibly impressively on the Switch that maybe we need new hardware. I'm not somebody who's personally feeling that. I thought, the 2016 Doom and Wolfenstein on the Switch were incredibly impressive and great looking and playing games. I don't need my games to be so much better than that, even if they can look better on other hardware. That satisfies me with what I need from gaming. And although I haven't played Doom Eternal on the Switch yet, I'm willing to bet it's the same thing. I think more people who I trust than don't trust have said that it's really cool and impressive the way the game runs. And I have played through the entire game on the PS4, and I mean, I love the game. Doom Eternal's fantastic. Visually, it's amazing. It's a more impressive game than the 2016 Doom for sure. And so, I don't necessarily need a lot of this stuff. I don't need these improvements, but I see where people are coming from, especially with a great showcase for the concept like Doom Eternal. And so the big question with all of this, like I already said, is do we need a Switch Pro? Is it time for a Switch Pro? Has Nintendo run out of runway to be able to make the current Switch actually viable and last for the next maybe couple of years until the possible next-gen Nintendo console comes out? And like I said, a lot of people, because of Doom Eternal and other reasons, feel like, yes, it's time. We need the Switch Pro right now. Nintendo can't handle it anymore. The Switch can't handle it. What are they going to do? They better release a better Switch. And to that I say, no, I don't really think that they do. I can only speak for myself on this exact topic, but all I can say is that myself, I'm not so greedy that I need games to be so much better looking than what they are even on the Switch. The way Wolfenstein and Doom, and I assume Doom Eternal, look and play on the Switch is so good to me. It's still impressive in its own bubble. It's still very good. Yes, games can look and be so much better. Yes, I have a PlayStation 5 and I am blown away by how good Demon's Souls looks. I mean, yes, great graphics and next-gen power and visuals absolutely excites me. Like, I'm not a maniac. Of course I like that stuff. But when I see something like Doom or Wolfenstein on the current Switch, I'm like, this is great too. This is fine. Something I used to say back in the Wii U era when Bayonetta 2 came out was Bayonetta 2, which was already underpowered compared to the PS4 and Xbox One at that time, but Bayonetta 2 to me looked and played so good that I said several times, if games never evolved beyond what Bayonetta 2 is in terms of visuals and playability, I would be fine. Let's pretend. Let's make up a situation where Bayonetta 2 was the peak of visuals and gameplay. That's fine. For the next 50 years of my life, I would still be satisfied with what games are showing me and allowing me to play. So I kind of hit the peak of what I need games to be able to do several years ago, 6 years ago at this point when that game released. So everything that we've had since then I'm seeing is kind of like just a bonus. Yes, games are going to continue to look and play better, and that is exciting, and I'm all about that. but we're beyond the point where I need games to do anything more. So when I play these less impressive versions of games on the Switch, I'm still playing games that I think look and play fantastic. And so, like I said, I don't feel so greedy that I need them to be more and better, even if better options do exist out there. And again, please remember, I'm not saying that's how you have to feel. I'm literally sharing only my own personal perspective and opinions here and my own personal needs. I understand that a lot of people feel differently here. A lot of you guys might feel like you do need the best graphics, the best gameplay, the best visuals, the best yada yada, whatever, AI and all these things. You might need that constantly. Every year you need something newer and better and bigger and different. And that's fine. Again, I like newer, better, bigger, and different. I'm just saying for me, I don't need it. But that's where this conversation gets tricky, because is it fair for someone to say that Nintendo needs to upgrade the Switch because maybe it can't handle some things as well as the other consoles? While I don't think that they do, I guess I could see how somebody else feels that way. But I think that we have to focus on the fact that Nintendo is not struggling. Maybe Doom Eternal struggles on the Switch. Let's say that Doom Eternal is a struggling game on the Switch. Okay, that's fine. That doesn't mean the Switch is struggling. Look at the sales. Like, part of what drives Nintendo's decisions is the sales. Animal Crossing carried them throughout the year, so they didn't have to force a lot of games out in a weird pandemic 2020 because the game was selling and the console was selling. Then here comes the holiday. PS4 or PS5 and Xbox Series X their stock are limited, and so they're sold out and very hard to find. Switch is still selling like crazy even though these new consoles came out. Nintendo is making so much money. They're just, I mean, it's so impressive. And so I don't feel like they're as motivated as they would need to upgrade the Switch to like a Switch Pro model. That doesn't mean they're not going to do it, because I do think there is a chance they might do it. But do they need to? People say that Nintendo, the Switch is so done, it can't handle certain games, they have to do it. And I'm like, they don't have to do it because of how successful the current Switch is. Might they do it? Yes, because they might have an ulterior motive behind doing it. But do they have to do it because the Switch is dead on arrival? No, of course not. The Switch is doing amazingly well. So at the end of the day, it's up to Nintendo to do what Nintendo thinks is best for Nintendo. And will the Game Awards show us some sort of new Switch model hardware upgrade, 3 hours after this video goes live? Maybe, but I'm putting less than 20% chance on that actually happening. Are they doing something in early 2021? I'm maybe going to put about a 40% chance. I feel quite a bit better about that happening. Are they going to do a Nintendo Switch Pro at any point before they release a Nintendo Switch 2? I'm going to say about 50%, so slightly better than the early 2021 thing. I'm willing to go 50-50. Half of me thinks it's impossible for them to do. Half of me thinks they might shock us and actually do it. So time will tell. Maybe 3 hours from now, time will tell, or maybe a year from now, time will tell. But we'll see. All I can share is my personal thing, and again, to summarize, I don't need a Switch Pro. Nintendo doesn't need to do it themselves because they're selling so well. But maybe they're going to do it for other reasons that we'll have to find out at that time. And it could be very exciting. And if it looks great, I'm absolutely going to end up buying one for myself. So I do want to put that out there as well. So these are my thoughts. Random discussion, I know, but I want to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think about my opinions and discussion? And what are your own thoughts on the concept of a Switch Pro? When do you think we'll see it, if it's going to happen? And with that, this video is a wrap. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Rule of Two Review, and I'll catch you next time on another video.